qui balise déjà les développements que nous allons suivre à tour de rôle en rapport avec l'avènement du tribunal numérique. Ainsi, je vais bien passer la parole à Madame Pamela Harris de l'État de Maryland pour nous faire découvrir éventuellement tous les contours des prérequis techniques et juridiques dont on nous a parlé tout à l'heure.
Thank you. I too am very honored to be here. This experience to me has been a learning experience for me, hearing everything from so many countries, learning so much of things that I didn't know from the United States. I would also like to thank His Majesty, the honorable ministers, the honorable judges, the conference participants for such an informative conference. I was asked to speak on digital courts. Digital courts means a lot in our new generation. It's paperless courts, it's digital filing, it's digital case management attached to those digital filings, it's digital recordings of court hearings, of court trials, it's digital notification of those hearings and those trials, it's smart forms where people go through an interview process, and through that interview process, the courts then take that information through an algorithm and file papers once the person says, yes, this is right. It's access to records, it's access to data, it's online alternative dispute resolution, it's video, open video of court proceedings, it's artificial intelligence, as you've heard, it's automated justice now. So digital courts encompasses a huge amount of where we're going. If you look at your iPhones or your Galaxies, this is just over 10 years old. And it's my understanding that this little piece of information that we have at our hands is more than sent the man to the moon. This small thing, I don't know what it'll be in 10 years. I don't know what this artificial intelligence will mean to any of us in 10 years. I don't know how we will be acting in 10 years because our digital world is changing daily. I do know that the modern court, what we're talking about, takes time, takes stability, takes long-term commitment, and it takes funds. And the scary part is, even if we think we have all of that, international studies show that 50% of all major IT implementation projects are not completed on time, and they're not completed within budget. So, even further, once they are delivered, they often don't meet the user's expectations of what they thought they bought or what they thought they were building. So after implementation then, it takes about 6 months for people to totally understand their new job, and it is a new job. It's a new job for judges, it's a new job for lawyers, and it's a new job for the clerks that help the system run. So what I was asked to do is try to bring things together and give you some top 10 non-technical IT project strategies as lessons learned from people around the world that have developed successful IT implementations. Now, of course, there's 15, 20, 25, 30, 50 things, but I'm just going to mention 10 here. The first is to anchor your strategic goals. You need a clearly defined vision and scope with full and unwavering sponsorship from your chief judge or your ministry. Unwavering. They need to commit to what you're doing. You need well-defined project oversight and the authority of roles and responsibilities defined for project management. And leadership has to buy off on all of that. The second important strategy is you need extensive, ongoing, upfront, in between, at the end, strategic planning. Strategic planning is something that doesn't stop once you start it. You've got to continue with detailed documentation that includes the estimates of the project, the dependencies, the project testing and timelines, and you need to try to stick with those as much as you can. And you have to watch out for scope creep. Lots of things try to trickle in. If you don't do things right up front, you're going to have scope creep, and that means more money, more time, and projects failing. You also should not introduce new initiatives because technology is changing and people have great ideas and they say, oh, well, let's do this too. Well, that's more than likely going to push your project out, and you do not want to do it. The third is risk assessment. You have to know where your strengths are, your weaknesses are, your issues, your constraints, and you need to address them accordingly. Sometimes your technology platform isn't what it should be for the future technology, so you need to look at your platform. Sometimes your future technology needs, what you know you might need, will affect what you have now and what you buy if you need to commit to something else. You also have to look at the skill requirements of your employees, or if you need to bring in contractors to help you get it done, or do you need to do both of those even if you buy off-the-shelf technology, because sometimes that just doesn't get you where you need to go. The fourth is adequate, sufficient, and sustained resources for the project. You have to have a dedicated team and dedicated funding for that team, whether you're building or buying. Not many of us can stop a project, say, whoops, this didn't work, and start over. Our funding authorities, they're not going to like that. The fifth is organizational change management. I think, in my experience, this has been the hardest thing to accomplish. You have to prepare and support judges, attorneys, clerks, citizens to make this change, because cultural change is everything, and every court has its own culture. So if you think you've gotten a long way with one court, you walk into the next court and the culture is totally different. So powerful and sustained change requires constant communication, assessing where you are, and adapting along the way. No matter how prepared you are, there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be that clerk or that lawyer or that judge that says, I liked it better the old way. So you might want to bring those types of personalities into the project to get their buy-in. And involve as many people as possible, because it's those relationships that will enable you to move forward in a positive manner. Number six, effective communication strategies. I would say you start with an executive steering committee from the top with the ministry or your chief judge. You have an advisory committee under that with more of the courts and people, and then you have user groups. And you need to communicate up and down. We don't want to be the ones to say that the emperor has no clothes to our leadership. 7, fully define project deliverables at all levels, but especially access to information. That's very important. Security and access. This can be complicated for even internal users. Who gets access to what data? That alone are external folks that want our data and access to our documents. Change control process. You have to have a change control process. You need to identify the issues, validate that request, analyze the cost, and schedule the changes. And then you execute and implement those changes. If you decide to do it, you may decide not to do those changes, and then you have to communicate that bad news to whomever wanted those changes. Number 9, training, education, discussion, going back and forth. Usually technology projects are more than a year. Sometimes they're 2 to 5 years. What happens in between there? You get new versions of the software out. So you need to, while you're still moving forward, you need to go back and retrain people. It gets complicated. And number 10, collaboration with your partners, collaboration with your lawyers, collaboration with citizens. Just as one of our speakers just said, for those, how do we reach the people? If you want to go to a digital court, how do you reach the people that can't get access to internet? You have to set up things at the courthouse, that they can do things at the courthouse. Finally, access to justice and transparency is the goal with moving forward with any digital court. We all need to be providing access and being transparent with that access. The success of any IT project is dependent on an effective planning and execution. We don't want to be one of the 50% of the people. Look at 50% of us in here. We do not want to be that 50% of implementing a non-successful implementation of an IT project. So I wish you great success, and I wish you all well. Thank you.
Merci, Madame Pamela, pour votre intervention très posée et truffée de beaucoup d'alertes. Madame Pamela est revenue sur la justice automatisée, où notification, enregistrement, gestion se font sans papier. Et c'est en attendant en attirant notre attention sur la mutation incessante et multiforme du monde numérique. Merci une fois de plus pour cette brillante intervention.